The creator of RuneScape unveils a brand new MMO. The Google AI that means you'll never play alone, and TikTok is one step closer to a US ban. I'm Ash Dixon, and this is Jinx News. Few games have stood the test of time like RuneScape, and while jagex has attempted to improve and modernize the game over the decades, it's the OG version of the MMO, old school RuneScape, that proves to be the most popular. And that simplistic, familiar gameplay has somewhat been frozen in time without any competition. Until now. That's because the creator of RuneScape has unveiled a brand new MMO, and well, it looks a whole lot like old school RuneScape. He's called Andrew Hauer, and his new game, Brighter Shores, has apparently been in development for 10 years. It's set to retain all the charm of its spiritual predecessor, but with a lot more respect for your time, with an aim to minimize grindy gameplay. The classes seem to mix things up too, with the three announced being the Cryo Knight, Hammer Mage, or the Guardian. And there's a huge number of professions too: fisher, miner, alchemist, blacksmith, the list goes on. And look, I think the announcement trailer will get two very different reactions. Those outside the RuneScape sphere will look at it and think, wow, this game is coming out in 2024? This looks dated AF. Meanwhile, all the RuneScape fans won't be saying anything because they'll just be too busy salivating obscene amounts of saliva. I'm personally not a fan of how enclosed the individual levels look. There seems to be an over-reliance on just bonking down a square and saying, that's the map. The whole point of an MMO is to feel like you're part of this big, living, breathing world, and I think this will spoil a lot of immersion. Still, if RuneScape players can look past 20-year-old graphics, they can look past that. Brighter Shores is set to be free to play with a premium pass unlocking extra stories and content, and it's not too far away either, with a supposed release date of Q3 of this year. I'm really curious what you think. RuneScape fans, are you excited? Non-RuneScape fans, what are your honest initial first impressions? Do let me know down in the comments. AI NPCs can sometimes make the gaming experience truly amazing. Just look at my boy BT from Titanfall 2, for example. But then, on the other side of the spectrum, you have the headache-inducing nightmare that was Ashley from Resident Evil 4. Apologies for the PTSD that voice line just triggered. Well, Google has made a new gaming AI that might just change things forever, because no longer do we just have AI NPCs, we now have AI player characters. Developed using DeepMind, it essentially creates a virtual co-op buddy who can join you across multiple games. Google calls it a scalable, instructable multi-world agent, or SEMA, meaning the learning AI will be able to follow verbal instructions and understand the virtual world that it's in. So far, they've tested the model in 8 different games like Valheim, Goat Simulator 3, and No Man's Sky, and it's in those survival games that I think this could be massively useful. I hate grinding for resources all the time, and having an AI friend who I would likely name something like Barry would be a godsend. I could just say, Barry, go collect wood for half an hour, and off he'd go, and then I could get on with doing the fun stuff, you know, like collecting stone. It does beg the question though, surely you'll have to own an extra copy of every game. Unless Google partners up with developers to have it built into their titles, because this AI functions like a human player. It has to navigate menus and interact with objects and the world just like an actual person. I'm also totally ready for the creepypastas that this will spawn. Just imagine it. Barry starts acting weirdly. He looks at you for just a bit too long, like your commands are brewing a deep, hateful resentment. You keep finding bones and other items in his inventory that you did not ask him to collect, and one day you decide to follow him. And he hasn't been chopping down wood, he's been building a shrine to a malevolent god, and you are his sacrifice. In all seriousness though, would you ever use an AI like this? What games do you think it would work for? Let me know in the comments, or Barry will get you. TikTok is one step closer to being banned in the US. A vote passed in the House of Representatives yesterday, meaning its owner, ByteDance, would have to sell its controlling stake in the app within 6 months or face a block in the country. It still has to pass the Senate, but considering its rare bipartisan support and the fact that Biden has said he'd sign the bill immediately, it's looking rather likely to go through. It's all come about as ByteDance is a Chinese company, and well, there is a huge concern around the amount of data they harvest from their apps and tech. Now, the Chinese government says this is bullying behavior from the US, but then again, a whole load of other nations have expressed massive concerns around the security risks of TikTok. Plus, China literally monitors all of its citizens and punishes them for behavior they deem unacceptable, so clearly they have the means. Either way, if ByteDance refuses to sell, that would mean no more TikTok in America. That would be huge for the social media landscape, and who knows, other countries might follow suit. Otherwise, if they do sell, the question is, who to? Earlier this week we spoke about how Bobby Kotick is interested, as if we haven't had enough rich art buying up and ruining social media platforms.
Go yourself.
But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves, shall we? I want to know what you think. Is the US government doing the right thing? And if you're from America and you watch us on TikTok, here's your reminder that you can still subscribe on YouTube and not miss out on your daily dose of gaming news. Let's bash out a couple of quickfire stories now, shall we? Embracer aren't exactly everyone's favorite gaming company right now, what with them having fired about half of the industry's workforce in the last few months it seems. So it'd be unsurprising to hear that some companies under its wing are looking to get out. Well, now one publisher has done exactly that. Sort of. It's all a bit complicated, but in essence, publisher Saber Interactive has split in two, with half of its games now being owned by Beacon Interactive, a company controlled by Saber Interactive's co-founder, Matthew Karch. These include games like Ghostrunner, Star Trek Infinite, and Ion Fury. The other half will stay with Embracer, meaning titles like Teardown, Chivalry, and MythForce will remain with gaming's worst business daddy. This graphic explains exactly who's going where and when, so if you're worried about your favorite title or developer going AWOL, it's worth checking out in full. In other news, it looks like we'll be getting a sequel to Ready Player One. The film based on the novel by Ernest Cline was a hit in the box office and critically well received, so it's no surprise that a sequel is coming. It'll be called Ready Player 2 because obviously, and again will be based on the Cline novel of the same name. Sadly though, Steven Spielberg will not be directing this time, though he will be producing, and apparently a lot of his ideas went into the actual novel, so his unique touch will still be all over the film. No word of a release date yet, so I guess we'll just have to stick to wearing our own VR headsets for now. Jesus wept! And that's your lot for today. Thank you for your presence, support, and comments. I do go through them and read them all. Catch up on yesterday's news somewhere around here, and we'll see you tomorrow.